This conversation will explore how strategic investment, integrated governance, and innovation are accelerating the Emirates' transition toward a knowledge-based and globally competitive economy. Moderating the session would be Mr. Dan Murphy, anchor and correspondent at CNBC. And please join me in welcoming His Excellency Ahmed Jasim Al Zaabi, Chairman of Abu Dhabi Department of Economic Development, and His Excellency Mohamed Ali Al Shorafa, Chairman of the Department of Municipalities and Transport, Abu Dhabi. Gentlemen.
And thank you so much for joining us today. Dan Murphy with you from CNBC. It's so great to see so many familiar faces in the room. I wanted to build on that excellent conversation that Becky and His Excellency have just had, because at CNBC, we think about this sector through the lens of investability and the translation for economic growth as well. I think it's fair to say, to kick us off, that Your Excellency has just done an outstanding job of really positioning Abu Dhabi as the capital of capital. Of course, home to ADGM, but also a growing financial ecosystem. We're seeing huge venture capital investments in this part of the world, and of course, major developments in the technology space too, which is part of the reason that we're all here to have this conversation. So again, an excellent time, an excellent place to maybe think a little bit deeper about how Abu Dhabi can translate some of this financial muscle and the policy foresight that His Excellency was talking about into global leadership in autonomy. So let's dive straight in. Your Excellency, I wanted to start with you first and foremost. How do autonomous and smart mobility technologies actually fit into the Abu Dhabi growth story today?
First of all, good morning, Dan. Thanks for having me here. Good morning to everyone in here. So it's not only smart and autonomous vehicles that we're focusing on. There's 13 clusters that we believe in, we're going to invest in, and we're going to double down on. So smart and autonomous vehicles is probably one of the most important clusters that we've got. And one of the reasons is because of the complexity of that industry and what it brings. Economic complexity within it is huge. It brings technology, it brings talent, it brings robotics into it to a different level. So in that sense, autonomous vehicles and autonomous sector is going to be a core sector, not only in mobility, but also in other sectors like manufacturing sectors, hence why we've invested in. The story of Abu Dhabi in terms of economic clusters is very clear. We've looked at different clusters within the universe, and then we said, okay, out of all those clusters, which ones do we think we have the right to win within? And one of those clusters was Savvy. And within those clusters, we've identified 13 that we believe we're going to be succeeding in. And we're working towards that. And in the next few years, people are going to see more and more of those advanced technologies, advanced clusters that we'll be doubling down on. We will continue to invest in conventional clusters. That's not going to go away. We will continue doubling down in financial services. That's not going to go away. But we will be investing more in advanced technologies and autonomous vehicles in this series, et cetera, et cetera. Today, this is part of the diversification efforts that we're working on. Once upon a time, the economy of Abu Dhabi was 20% non-oil and 80% oil. Today, we've turned that pyramid. We've tilted it now. The last quarter, we've scored 57% of our economy to be non-oil and 43% oil. So we are into a trajectory that we're going to really turn that pyramid on its head. So that's where we are today.
It's really fascinating because there's deep pools of public and private capital in this part of the world, and we're seeing these investments move into Abu Dhabi from the international stage, but also Abu Dhabi acting as a really important backstop for the investment story as well. And as you say, really pushing forward the diversification agenda, ensuring that this economy is match fit for the future. What are you seeing right now in terms of foreign investor interest in this space, particularly from the big technology firms?
Most investors around the world are looking for returns, but they also are looking for ambition. And we've got both of them. We've got ambition, and we've got cases in here and opportunities in here that will reap for them returns. And if you bring those together, that's a major part and a major pillar for investors to come in. However, there are other things that we need to focus on. We need to be focused on progressive regulations. Not only progressive regulations, we need to be risk-based in terms of what we do. So we need to be very clear on where we are in terms of everything that we do, in terms of those clusters, and in terms of those opportunities that we have. And that needs to be communicated. We need not only to focus on the economical part or the financial part, but also the livability part of the city. Because at the end of the day, most of those clusters or most of those industries are based on talent, and talent needs to reside in a place where they can live, work, and play. So all those things are other things that we're focusing on, and my colleagues, His Excellency Mohamed Ali Al Shorafa, is also focusing on in terms of availability to ensure that talent resides in here and it's attracted into the economy of Abu Dhabi.
It's a great point. And we'll come back to the talent question too, because I think that's a really, really important issue to pick up on. Your Excellency, welcome into the conversation. You're Abu Dhabi's transport chief, so give me a pulse check on what's actually happening inside the Emirate today. And in particular, when you think about the investment into this space, vehicles, autonomous systems, robotics, and beyond, where are we seeing the immediate real-world impact today?
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. Again, it's not a secret recipe, but it's very important for us to mention that to have all of this, what you see today, all type of autonomous vehicles, air, land, or sea, on different services, you have to have a very strong digital city management as well. By not having a completely integrated digital platform with everything integrated, from traffic, from light, from safety, from civil defense, from police, from even economic sectors, we wouldn't be able to deploy autonomous vehicles. Again, why I'm saying it's not a secret recipe, but we as Abu Dhabi and United Arab Emirates, we have a very different component to the recipe, if I can put it this way. We have a very strong leadership with very high aspirations, and I'm going to use the same words like His Excellency Faisal just mentioned, is that we are all geared toward accelerating this autonomous introduction. And by introducing this autonomous systems, we all have to work together. Every single person within that autonomous committee, led by His Highness Sheikh Hamdan, have a strong working group dedicated of clearing out all the bureaucratic, getting the best practice regulations, or even better, at least from a safety point of view, and make it happen among all of us. And this is, I think, the secret recipe that we have. We have the will and the strong leadership aspirations. But again, it is also how the center of government is trying to make that impact change. And by doing that, we are able to attract a lot of new investments into the country through either Abu Dhabi Investment Office or ATRC, or even direct private companies that are already available in Abu Dhabi, but giving them the testing facilities, the sandboxes that we need, the right regulation, and giving them, again, an economies of scale to make it economically viable for them to introduce this autonomous technologies in the market.
Talk to me about the importance of partnerships as well, because it seems like it's not just intergovernmental, interagency partnerships, it's also external partnerships that are helping to accelerate this forward as well.
I think a very important component in what we are saying is understanding as well private players, what are they looking for? What are the problems that they are facing? When we came up and starting, because I'm leading the regulatory framework into the Autonomous Council, we wanted to understand from the private sector and technology partners what are their pain points whenever they are trying to get regulatory approval around the world, either from North America, Europe, or even China. And we understood where are the areas that we actually need to deploy our effort and put more emphasis on by working among each other. And a lot of these were in regulatory frameworks. Another thing was the safety, and the safety factor here in Abu Dhabi, yes, we're trying to even take it a little bit higher notch, because at the end of the day, this haven't been deployed in an economically viable mass or volume. And we are glad, as Faisal was saying, and His Excellency Ahmed also, is that even before end of the year, you will see a lot of autonomous introduction within not only public transport. We've already been deploying even in municipal services. A lot of the street cleaning machines have already been autonomous. Our inspection as well on parks and gardens and on the streets are being done autonomously, either on ground or by air. But again, always need to listen to the private sector. They are the driver, we have to be the enabler. If we cannot enable private sector to introduce new technologies, it's not going to happen. And this is the great dialogue that we're having with them.
So a question for both of you now. What would you say is Abu Dhabi's edge? Because, I speak with a lot of global investors, particularly in the private sector as well, looking to establish a presence in other parts of the world. Shanghai, Shenzhen, Singapore, San Francisco, all the other cities that start with S, also seeking to attract these private players in the autonomous space into their own cities. How does Abu Dhabi maintain that edge, and what's the secret sauce, to use your words, to ensure that they're coming here and not going somewhere else?
I think it's the total package. When I say total package, it is from livability, so people would love to come and live in Abu Dhabi, either it's from its safety, how cosmopolitan it is, how open and regulated this city is, in addition to having the right regulatory framework, the right connectivity around the world as well, and trying to attract people to come and live, work, and also introduce new technologies in this part of the world. Some of the cities that you've just mentioned have already probably have one or two of those components. We're very glad, and we are glad that we have a great leadership that all these components, we actually tick the boxes on them.
Your Excellency?
I think above the bedrock that His Excellency Mohamed Shorafa has spoken about, which are the foundational pillars, there is a very interesting thing that usually added to that. It's that ambitions and opportunities that brings people in, that brings talent in. And if talent sees opportunities and ambitions, that's how they're going to move. They're going to be attracted to that. Because as much as we look at different programs to attract talent, the major part is, will that talent be attracted to a mundane kind of city, or will that talent be attracted to a city where it offers them opportunities to grow? And we believe and we're certain that Abu Dhabi provides that. And that's why we think Abu Dhabi is, or I wouldn't say think, that's why we actually believe that Abu Dhabi is the place where people can seek opportunities and can find a place where their dreams can come true. And that's where Abu Dhabi differs from everyone else, is where they see that when they come here, they can get things done, whether it's a regulatory thing, whether it's a livability thing, whether it's a family, whatever it is. The bottom line is, can my dream come true when I come to Abu Dhabi? And if history only taught us about Abu Dhabi and the UAE, then the answer is yes.
And that's why we've already seen engineers, developers, technology experts moving into the Emirate to build out this ecosystem as well. And His Excellency mentioned this, but another major barrier is safety. I think you also have to create the ecosystem, but bring the people along with you as well to ensure that when they're engaging with some of these autonomous systems, particularly if they're moving on the ground or flying in the sky, that they're safe. So what are the regulatory efforts underway at the moment to ensure that this development happens in a safe space?
I won't go into the technical part of the safety aspect, but I'll go into the overarching objective of what we want to do and how we want to do it. In any industry, in any regulatory framework, there needs to be, if you want to progress, you need to be able to actually break those risk barriers. However, at the same time, you need to be able to actually manage those risks. And our view is, and that's what people call the risk-based regulators. You shouldn't be on the very right-hand side of it, nor the very left-hand. So you shouldn't be a huge risk taker, and you shouldn't be a risk averse. But you need to be able to understand what are the risks and how do I mitigate them. And this is our approach. If you're going to sit by the fence, you're never going to move. If you're going to be a risk-averse person, then, or a regulator, then that's exactly what's going to happen. Nothing's going to develop, nothing's going to move. If you're going to be on the other side, then catastrophe happens sometimes. You need to be able to understand where is that point within that risk framework where I can actually manage. And that's how we actually manage things through from a regulatory perspective. Where do you actually move, and how do we actually move, and how do we actually mitigate the risk? Do we actually start, for example, cargo before passengers? Do we actually try it there? Today we're going to be signing, over the next few days actually, we're going to be signing 13 agreements on commercial pilots. Now those 13 agreements, and more is to come. Those commercial agreements are important, and the speed at which we actually do our pilots is very important. We're not going to wait. We're not going to start saying let's look at everything at the same time. At the end of the day, Abu Dhabi is becoming the sandbox of the world, and this is exactly what Abu Dhabi is today. It's a sandbox to the world on everything that there is that people want to do things in. And if you want to be at the forefront of everything, you need to be able to take risks, but at the same time, you need to be wise enough to understand how do you manage that risk. And this is where we are today, and this is what we believe is going to be a major part in Abu Dhabi leading and the UAE leading going forward.
When I speak with technology developers, when I speak with investors in the US or elsewhere in the world, they always say that regulation is often behind the curve of innovation. But in the UAE, it seems as if the script has been flipped, right? Because you have innovation keeping pace with regulation, and actually, in some cases, the regulatory environment here actually enabling that innovation itself. Would you agree with that, Your Excellency?
Oh yeah, I totally agree on that. Unless we understand what the innovation, and if we need to be on the forefront of innovation, we have to keep innovation in front of us first. Regulatory frameworks will definitely come after understanding what this innovation, as Ahmed was saying, what is the size of the risk, or how big is that risk. But if we are always going to keep regulation in front of us and driving us, we won't move wherever we want. You have to keep innovation, new ideas, and this is being part of the ethos of Abu Dhabi government. We are open for new ideas, and if we don't get the new ideas, we won't be able to develop any new regulations or cancel. We've actually canceled laws. We've changed laws. We've introduced new policies, and we wouldn't have done that unless we understand that there is this innovation that's going to make a change in our life or have an edge for Abu Dhabi. And this have always been the aspiration of our leadership.
Let's push the conversation forward. And before we wrap it up, I wanted to maybe just have you both cast your mind into the future, the not too distant future. Let's look ahead to 2030, for example. What will success look like for Abu Dhabi in this space, particularly when it comes to jobs, when it comes to growth, when it comes to productivity, other factors that this sector could ultimately enable? What is the North Star? What's the end goal here? Your Excellency, I'll start with you.
Well, I think the North Star for Abu Dhabi in terms of that sector specifically is Abu Dhabi becoming not only a receiver of new technologies, but being a creator of new innovations and technologies in Abu Dhabi within the ecosystem. And by doing that, we have to obviously attract more talents, have the right livability programs available for them, and create the right incentive for those people to come to this part of the world. Again, if I go 30 years in the future, there are going to be new opportunities that we don't see now, but we have to be ready for them in terms of the right platforms that we can introduce those technologies and get the right talent in this part of the world.
Your Excellency, I'll leave you with the final word. When you cast your mind ahead to 2030, what's your vision on what success is going to look like?
I get asked this question a lot, but I just want to say if we're as hungry for success in 2030 or 2035 as we are today, it doesn't matter where we are and how we are and what industries we're leading. For us, that's what we need to continue to have, is the agility and the ambitions, and to have the hunger for always to be successful. And that on its own as a recipe, it doesn't matter which sectors you are, whether the conventional sectors or advanced technologies, whatever it is. If you're always at a point where you sleep at night knowing that you're number one, but you wake up the next day, you feel you're number two, if you're at that prism, then you're always going to be successful, because you know that you always want to be sleeping at night knowing you're number one, but you always feel you're number two the next day. And that's what's important, and that's where I want us to always be, whether today, whether tomorrow, or 2050. Thank you.
Brilliant reply. Stay ambitious, stay hungry. I think we can leave it there. So thank you both for joining this conversation today. I'll invite you to stay on the stage because you have another photo opportunity coming up. I'm going to leave it there, but thank you all for listening in, and enjoy the rest of the week.